All right, math lesson, April 22nd, 2020. Here we go with our fluency. So, fluency, number one, there are 6 groups of people. Each group has 93 people in it. How many people are there total? Oh, that's easy peasy. If there's 6 groups of them, 6 groups of the 93 people, we're going to multiply. Each group has 93 people in it. Well, 93 times 6. 6 times 3 is going to be 18. So we'll put our 1 up here and our 8 down here. 9 times 6, or 6 times 9, is going to be 54. Plus the 1 is going to be 55. We don't have any decimals here, so our answer is just going to be 558 people. So there are 558 people. Woohoo! Done with number 1. Easy peasy. Let's look at number 2. Alrighty. Number 2, solve each of the following for the missing number. I will move it over as we go. Don't worry. All right, so what number times 5 and then minus 10 equals 100? Now, this we have to be very careful because we have order of operations here. Yes, we can start plugging in numbers, or we can take a look at our equal sign and we can draw an imaginary line down it. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. Let's get rid of everything except for the unknown here. So let's put the unknown, I'll just put a question mark, that's fine. You can label it as X, you can label it as Y. You can put a variable there, whatever you want to do is fine. So for the first one, I'll put a question mark because we don't know that value. What you do to one side, let's get rid of the easiest thing first. In this case, well, we have minus 10. We can add 10 to both sides. Let's get rid of that 10. So let's add 10 to both sides. We started doing this before we left each other. We started coming back to review this. I know it might still be a little bit far back in your brain. Do not stress. We're going to get through it. We're going to do it. So when you have minus 10 plus 10 or negative 10 plus 10, that cancels out. So on this side, we're going to be left with an unknown number times 5. So essentially, we are undoing this. So we're going to go backwards with our order of operations. Then our equal sign, 100 plus 10 is going to be 110. Now we have a multiply by 5. What is the inverse or the opposite of multiplication? Oh, I know. Division. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. Divide both sides by 5. When you multiply and divide, that's going to cancel out. So we're going to have our unknown value is going to equal, let me go back to this color, equal whatever 110 divided by 5 is. Well, if you don't know it, that's absolutely fine. Let's do it off to the side. 110 divided by 5. Well, 5 can go into 11. 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. So, pardon me. 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Drop down your 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. No remainders. So our answer here, when you have 110 divided by 5, is going to be 22. So our unknown value is going to be 22. So for the first one, you're just going to put 22. All right, now let's go to the next one. If you plug in 22, you do 22 times 5, you'll get 110. Subtract 10, then you'll get 100. Now, the next one, 8 times some number. Let's put y here. 8 times y minus 2 equals 30. Well, let's put our imaginary line. Let's do the inverse operations or the opposite operation to each side. So let's get y by itself. So we are going to have subtracting 2 here. We're going to add 2 to both sides. Add 2. Well, we have negative 2 and positive 2 are going to cancel out. So we're left with 8 times y here equals 30 plus 2 is going to be 32. Now we have multiplication here. We're going to do the inverse. So this number here. So 8 times y or 8y or y times 8, you can write those flip-flop because even multiplication and addition, you can you can do the opposite. So 8 times y or y times 8, you get the same answer. But not with division or subtraction. So you're going to divide both sides by 8. Divide both sides by 8. That cancels out. You're left with y equals 32 divided by 8. You are going to get 4. So our answer here is going to be 4. So when you have 8 times 4, 8 times 4 is going to be 32. Subtract 2, you get 30. So our next answer is 4. All right, let's look at the last one. 2 times some number. Let's put h there. 2 times h plus 12 equals 24. Well, let's have our imaginary line. We're going to subtract 12 because this is addition. Inverse or opposite of addition is subtraction, so we need to get rid of that on this side because we're trying to get h by itself. So we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. 4 minus 2 is going to be 2. 2 minus 1 is going to be 1. So we have 12 over here equals, well, positive 12 and negative 12 are going to cancel out. So then we have 2 times h. Now, inverse or opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. That cancels out. So we have h equals 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. So our answer here is 6. If you put 2 times 6, that's going to give you your 12. And then you add 12, you're going to get 24. So in your Google form or in your Google Doc, you are going to put 22, 4, and then 6. All right, let's move on to number 3. Solve using the order of operations. Yay, I love order of operations. Remember, order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS. All right, let's do PEMDAS. Remember, multiplication and division and addition and subtraction are left to right. All right, do we have any parentheses here? Nope, done with our parentheses. Do we have any exponents? Nope. Oh my goodness, could this get any easier for us? All right, multiplication and division. Ooh, I see both. We are going to go from left to right. Now, let's see, no. Oh, multiplication. 9 times 2, 18. Now bring everything else down. Please, 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 I beg you. Everything else must come down. All right, now, you can't see the variation of that. I apologize. I tried to use green and blue. Now, do we still have multiplication or division? Yes, we have division. There's only one left. Let's make sure from left to right. Whoop, 18 divided by 3 is going to be 6. Bring everything else down. I'm going to write in pink this time. Now, any more multiplication or division? Nope. So we're done with that. Addition and subtraction from left to right. 6 plus 30. Ooh, there we go. First thing. So that's 36. And then we're going to bring everything else down. Minus 6. Now we only have one more operation. 36 minus 6 is going to be 30. So your answer for number 3 is 30. Bingo, bingo. All right, number 4. Andrew was given the problem 4 to the 3rd power. Ooh, we may have just done this one in the past lesson. All right, he says the answer is 64, but Greg thinks the answer is 12. Who is correct? Well, we know when we have a power, 4 to the 3rd power, that does not mean 4 times 3. That means 4 times 4, 3 times 4. So 4 times 4 times 4. Whew. So now if we solve that, well, let's use purple. 4 times 4 is going to be 16. Then when we multiply by that, ooh, see, he did the wrong thing. 16 times 4, well, you can do it off to the side again. 6 times 4 is going to be 24. 4 times 1 is going to be 4. 5, 6, so 64. So our answer is 64. So Andrew was correct. Alrighty, now let's look at our air practice. Number 5. Consider this figure below. What is the volume of the right rectangular prism in cubic inches? So remember, volume is volume is length times width times height. Woohoo! Alrighty, so length times width times height. Our length here is 12. So we have a length, we have a width, and we have a height. Now, since we're multiplying, the only operation here is multiplication, you can multiply these numbers in any order you wish. So I'm just going to do volume is length, which is 12, times width, which is 4, times height, which is 5. Now, let's do 12 times 4. 4 times, ooh, that looks weird, sorry. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. So 12 times 4 is going to be 48. We did not multiply that 5 yet. So our volume is going to be 48 times 5. Well, let's do 48 times 5. What color did I not use yet? Let's use orange. 48 times 5. Can you see that? Yeah, that's not bad. All right, 48 times 5. We are going to multiply here. 8 times 5, or 5 times 8 is going to be 40. Now, so you put your 0 down here, you carry your 4. 5 times 4 is going to be 20, and then you're going to add the 4, and you're going to get 24. There are no decimals, so our answer, our volume, is not only 240, but it is going to be 240 cubic inches, because inches cubed, we're multiplying 3 times. So it's inches times inches times inches. Remember when we went up here, we had 4 to the 3rd power, 4 times 4 times 4. Ooh, this is inches to the 3rd power, which is also inches times inches times inches. So I know on your doc, you can do 240 cubic inches. Awesome, awesome. It also can be written like this, but you may not know how to do that on the doc, and that's absolutely fine. Do not worry about it. 240 inches cubed, same thing as cubic inches, just a different wording. All right, now let's take a look at number 6. Number 6 is a little bit tricky. Do not stress with this one too much. You might need to rewind this one. However, just bear with me. We're going to get the first part very easily. However, the second part, the correct answer, is going to trick you maybe just a little bit. All right, so a right cubic prism. So we have a square, cube. Well, I tried to make that a square. My bad. I'm going to do a little square. So we have a square here. The edges are 2.5 inches. So 2.5 inches. Now, if this is 2.5 inches and it's a square, this is also going to be 2.5 inches, as well as the height is going to be 2.5 inches. How many cubes with a side length of 1/2 inches would be needed to fill the prism? So first of all, it says fill the prism. Well, let's figure out how we can fill the prism with our side length inches of 1/2. Well, let's do our volume. So when you fill it, that's our volume. So our volume is length times width times height. So in this case, it's all going to be, you're multiplying the same number because it's a cube, it's a square. So our volume is going to be 2.5. So 2.5, you can also write it as 2.5 if you'd wish, times 2.5 times 2.5. That might make your life a little bit easier for you. It might help you out a little bit. I know it helps me out when I solve these problems. It might not help you out. That's absolutely fine, whatever you want to do. So let's do 2.5 times 2.5, or 2 and 5 tenths times 2 and 5 tenths. If you multiply, I'm doing it off to the side here. You don't need to line up your decimals. However, in this case we do, or we don't need to, but in this case it is lined up. 5 times 5 is 25. Reminder, that's not 10. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2. It's going to be 12. Now we are done with the 5 and this remainder. So we're going to put our placeholder 0. Remember to put your placeholder 0, everybody. 2 times 5 is going to be 10. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is going to be 5. Now we're going to add. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 5 is 6. Now our decimal, 1, 2. 2 total, 1, 2. So we have 6.25. Our volume times 2.5. So now let's do 6.25 times 2.5. All right, we can do that off to the side if you'd like. 6.25 times 2.5. I'm lining everything up to the right so that I don't need to put any more placeholder zeros here, because you do not need to line up your decimals when you're multiplying, as a reminder. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is going to be 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 1, 31. Now we are done with the 5. We are done with these remainders. So let's put our placeholder 0 because we are now moving over to the 2. This place. Now 2 times 5 is going to be 10. 2 times 2 is going to be 4, plus 1 is going to be 5. 2 times 6 is going to be 12. Now let's add. We're done with all that. There's nothing else next. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2, we have 6, 3, 4, 5, and 1. Now our decimal, how many places in? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So 15.625 is the volume of our cube here. Now, it's tricking us because it's saying how many side lengths, how many cubes with a side length of 1/2 inch would be needed to fill the prism. So in this case, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If you have your square here and you have a regular cube, it's going to be filled with a regular cube. Well, if we are cutting that in half, so let's say, we have this one cube and we're cutting it in half. Now, when you cut that one cube in half, then you have 2 that's going to fill into 1. So essentially, we are going to be having 2 of our 1 cubes that'll be 1 of the cubes. So how many sides are there? So we have 1 side, we have 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides. Well, if you're going to cut it in half or you're going to multiply it, we're going to multiply by 2 because we are dividing each of the squares into 2. We're having 1/2 inches instead of a full inch, which means we're going to have more squares. So if we're having side lengths of 1/2 inches, we're going to need more of those. So in this case, we're going to have, so we have 4 sides, and then we're going to multiply it by 2 because we have 4 sides, and then we're cutting it in half. So we're going to have another set of 4. So that's going to be 8. So we're going to multiply this 15.625 times 8. I know that was very tricky, very confusing. Do not stress. It's okay. We'll be doing more practice with this. Do not worry. So we are going to multiply it by 8 because we have our typical sides, but then we're going to need another set of that because we're making this smaller. So we're going to need more cubes. So we're making it smaller by 1/2. So that means we're just cutting it in half. And then so that's going to be double the amount of cubes. So we're going to multiply by 8. So 15.625 times 8. Well, let's see. 5 times 8 is going to be 40. 8 times 2 is going to be 16, plus 4 is going to be 20. 8 times 6, or 6 times 8, 48, 49, 50. 8 times 5 is going to be 40, plus 5 is going to be 45. 8 times 1 is going to be 8, plus 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, the decimal here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 125.000 is the same thing as 125. So our answer is going to be A. If it asked for the volume of the cube alone, then it would be 15 and 625 thousandths cubes, or 15.625 cubes. However, first of all, we're not gonna need like that small of cubes. When you have a half, you need more cubes. All right, let's take a look at number 7. Let me zoom out there. Perfect. Okay, so number 7 is the solid shown below was created by joining 2 right rectangular prisms. what is the volume of the solid in cubic feet? So the volume, remember, length times width times height, but we have a funky situation. So our funky situation here, we have, two prisms and they're combining together. So you can break this up any way that you want to. I'm gonna break it up into this one here. I'm gonna put this one here and then this big one. So since this whole side length is 6, what would this side length be? Well, if this is 3, this is also gonna be 3, meaning this will be 3, meaning 6 minus this 3 is going to be 3 over here as well. So this side is going to be 3. So to find the volume of the smaller part, we are going to have length times width times height. So our length times width times height. So we have 3 times our width. Ooh, our width is going to be the same. All right, not bad. So our width, if this is 5, our width over here is also going to be 5. So 3 times 5 times our height is going to be 2.5. So you can write that as 2.5 to make your life easier, or you can do a fraction, whatever you prefer. All right, now let's solve this. I'm going to use the same color. Volume, 3 times 5 is going to be 15. And then we'll multiply by 2.5. All right, so let's do 15. Can you still see? Yes. 15 times 2.5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. Now, we're done with our 5, and that one, we're going to put our placeholder 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Now, we are going to add. We have 5, 7, 3. Our decimal only goes in, just one time here. So it's going to be 37.5. So our volume is 37.5. Now, that's only of this small portion one. Now, so I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm going to box it so I know we need to add that to whatever this volume is. All right, so here we go. Volume of the big guy. So our volume is going to be length times width times height. Now, our length, the volume, is going to be 3 times our width is also going to be 5, like the other one, times now our height. If this is 4.5, this is also 4.5, so our height is 4.5, or 4.5. All right, so our volume, 3 times 5 is going to be 15, times 4.5. Let's do that. 15 times 4.5. I'll write that a little bigger. I apologize if I'm writing smaller, as at least I'm talking it out as well. 5 times 5 is going to be 25. 5 times 1 is going to be 5, plus 2 is going to be 7. We are done with our 5 here and our 2. So we're going to put our placeholder 0 because we're moving over to the next spot now. 5 times 4, or 4 times 5, is going to be 20. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is going to be 6. Now, we're going to add them. 5, 7, 6. Our decimal goes in one time. Now, we are going to have 67.5. So our volume here is 67.5. Now, that is for the big guy. Now, to find the volume of the whole thing, we got to put it together. Now, let's see. We are going to add together both of the volumes. So 67 and a half, or 67.5, or 67 and 5/10, plus 37 and a half. We're going to add them. 5 plus 5 is 10. Ooh, reminder. When you are adding or subtracting decimals, line up your decimals. We need to drop that decimal down. Drop it like it's hot. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So our answer is 105.0, or 105 feet cubed. 105 feet cubed, or the same thing as cubic feet. 105 cubic feet. All right. Again, you can fast forward, or you can rewind, pause, whatever you need to do to help you out.